So we will start with the tokens in Python. Okay, so you guys might be knowing what is a token, right? So we have particularly 5 types there. Yes, he's there now. Okay, so we have particularly 5 types of tokens. So we'll start with that. So let's say tokens. So what exactly are these things, right? So if we need to define the tokens, we'll define it as the smallest individual unit of a program. Okay. Now these tokens may be sometimes called as your lexical units. So if you need to define what are tokens, because the very first thing which you learn in your Python is your tokens. Okay. So tokens is nothing but the individual unit of a program, or the smallest individual unit of a program. That's it. So you will define it as, let me zoom. Everyone has Anaconda and Python, I believe that you have with you. Okay, so token is the smallest individual unit of a program. Or yes, okay, fine. Someone has escaped. Okay, so there are particularly 5 type of tokens we have, right? We have keywords, we have identifiers, we have literals, we have operators, and the punctuators. Now to understand the keywords, let us begin with one of them. So we'll start with the keywords. So what are keywords? As I said yesterday, that the keywords are some predefined words having some special meaning to the language or of a compiler or an interpreter. So you can write it as keywords are the predefined special reserved names. You can say having some special purpose. Okay, right. Special purpose for the programming language. So let me write the programming language as pro.lang. So you might be compatible with those. So these are called as your keywords. So if I write it as code, keywords, and the code. So keywords are the predefined special reserved names having some special, there is a spelling error, and it's a purpose of for a language, programming language. Okay, let's see whether everyone has game or not. Alright. Any more to come? Yesterday also there was 18, I think. I believe that these students should be there. Okay. So the Python contains a list of following keywords, which I'll be just making a print in front of you, right? So what are these keywords stands for? Okay, let me write anything. Let me write like true. Let me write as false. For false, for false, let me write as import, or let it be is, or like that. What are these things? These things are nothing but the keywords. How we can say that these are the keywords? What about the and, or what about the sum? What about the minimum? What about the maximum? Right? Why these are not the keywords? But the very basic difference, you can find between these is that the numbers, not the numbers, the characters you can see here are written in the bold characteristics or bold letters. Okay. and as compared to these sum, min, max, and many more, these are not written in the bold, right? So these are the regular cases and these are the bold cases. So we can define a keyword with a bold cases. Even if you write a program in your Python, anytime when you get some green bold letters there, that are your keyword. So how to get all those green bold letters? How to understand that how many keywords are there? To avoid the usage, to avoid the misuse, because the keywords you should not, because when we're going with the variables, we'll see that a variable name must not contain a keyword. Okay, so that's why it's very needed to write, to understand what is a keyword or how many type of how many keywords are there in your Python, right? So for that, what you'll do is to understand these are the functions. Sum, min, max. These are the functions with a regular green color, and these the bold green colors are your keywords. So how many keywords are there? Okay, if you want to see how many keywords are there, so you'll just write about help and then for your keywords. Probably you'll be getting all the list of keywords there. Understood? Alright, so you can see now the keywords there. Okay, so these are your keywords. Apart from this, if you want to make a list of keywords, these are a table of keywords, you can say, having some particular rows and some particular columns, some 4 columns, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 into 4, 36 I can see there. Okay, no, not 35, 35. Okay, so there are some of the rows and some of the column. You can call it as a kind of a data frame or a matrix, whatever you want. So you got to have all the keywords. Now let's hope that you want to make it like a couple of codes and then you want it to get printed, a list of all the keywords. So for that you have to import the module of your keyword, and then you will be printing on the keyword dot kw's list. Alright. So if you run this, you will get a list of all the keywords what you got above, that is false, none, true, and all these things. Okay, these are the things you'll be getting on. Now then the very basic thing, how many list of elements are there? So to calculate the length of elements, so to calculate the length of elements, we use, what we use? Anyone? Speak out. We use len function. Alright, to calculate the length of elements, we use the length function. So similarly, the keyword start list, you want to find the length of the keyword start list. So I haven't given any particular variable or any of the things, so I'll just writing it as the length of the keyword dot kw list. So how many are there? We'll get to know around 35. That's correct. So we see 35 uh, number of elements inside your keywords list. Understood? So these are particularly called as your keywords over there. Okay. Next we move on to see the next type. So this was the first type of your token, that was your keyword. Now moving to the second type of your token, that is your, is it 5 or 8 particular? 2, 3, 4, 5, correct, it is 5. Next we move to the literals. So before literals, let me go to the identifiers because you'll be confused for that. So what are identifiers? Now you can say identifiers as a kind of your name or you can just go it with the saying it as your variables or objects, or you can might be saying as a kind of a list or a dictionary and so forth. You can just name it on whatever you want. Okay, so we'll see for the identifiers. So you can write identifiers are names. Which names? Those are given to the variables or maybe lists, maybe tuples, maybe dictionaries, or maybe you can call it as your objects, like this. Okay. So these are nothing but the names given to the following things, right? So identifiers are the name given to the variables like the list tuple, or maybe for the list tuple. Uh, Variables could be like, let's say I have written for x in a word. For x in a word, you are just going to print the x. So what will print? W or R and D. So here we can say this x particularly is a variable, so this is an identifier here. Okay, this is such as. Moving ahead. So there are some rules and regulations. I think you might know all these things, right? Rules and regulations for making a variable. So if you want to see a variable, I'll discuss about the variable later. Just move on first now. So we'll see the third criteria, that is your literals. So what are literals now? So you can name the literals as your data items or data elements that have a constant value. Correct? So you can name it as the data elements or the items having the constant value for any particular sentence or code of that. So literals are the data items having a constant value. Not always, but you can say it as constant value, or you can say it as a, sometimes people say not a uniform, it is not uniform, you can say a fixed value, because uniform is something which keeps on increasing and increasing. It is not increasing, it's having a fixed value. So Python allows the several kind of literals for you, like for I'm writing some of them there. So there are a lot of literals, like for the string literals we have boolean literals, we have the numeric literals, we have special literals like for the non. So there are many kind of literals, so we'll focus on the literals later. Now let's come to the operator section. You probably can write it as this. So if you see literals, what I said, there are how many type of literals? There are string literals, there are numeric literals, there are boolean literals, there are special, or you can say special literal, special or oblique non we say it as. So we have these all four types there. So what about the operators now? So there you get your operators. What are kind of operators now? So operators are the tokens that trigger some computation or actions, right? These are something you use while calculating something or to make some actions in your code, right? You use the operators at that moment only. So you can write that operators are the trigger or are the tokens that trigger some computations, you can some computation or action you can write as when applied on the variables. You apply these things on the variables, right? And you get to have a lot of operators with you, right? There are a lot of operators. Okay, yes. Now some of you said yesterday that you have read something in the Python. So yes, say how much you know, what are the operators there. Yes, for one, we'll start from the Anusha. You say one, then go with the Sai Teja, then go with the Swaroop. So everyone will say one by one. Yes, Anusha, write one there. Assignment. Next, Sai will write. Let's see what comes first. Yes, yes, Sai. You have 10 seconds. Yes, right. Fast.
Sir, we didn't understand your can you repeat once again, sir? Question. What is the question?
Sorry.
We didn't understand your question, sir. Can you repeat it?
I am asking that how many kind of operators are there in the Python? Okay, so one C has written Anusha. Okay, now Swaroop, your turn. Surya Prakash. Okay, okay, Swaroop, your turn. One operator name quickly. All right, moving ahead. Madhu, yes. Arithmetic and comparison. Comparison has been given. Arithmetic has Sneha has given. Where is Sneha? Where is Sneha? Where is Sneha? Here. Okay. Sai Vamsi has been logical. Logical has been done bitwise. Yes. Okay, let me ask you something whether you remember or not. Okay, guys, what is intelligence? Anyone? What is intelligence? Yesterday we deal with the intelligence, right? What is the
Sir,
formula?
R square L square T square S.
Yes, exactly. Okay, now can anyone let me know what is R square, M square, P square, S? Okay. Yes, I got that you know the reasoning, okay. Logical reasoning, correct. Reasoning, logistic reasoning has been done. More, go on. Logical reasoning, yes, go ahead. Learning, yes. More two terms are missing. Problem solving, correct. Not programming, that was perception. Right. Logic understanding, yes. So you have read, I think. All right, nice, good. So yeah, we have a lot of operator kinds in the Python. We have arithmetic operators. Let me write all these names. So first we'll start with the arithmetic one. So we have arithmetic operators. Secondly, we have assignment operators. Then we have the, you can say as well, bitwise operators. There are a lot logical too. So let me give it as B. There are, you can say as for comparison, someone says, so comparison operators. Did anyone say identity operator? Is there identity? No. Okay, Pushpa has it. Right, good. So, not Pushpa. It was identity. I was writing Pushpa over there. Alright. So we have identity operators, we have membership operators, and meanwhile we have the shift operators. Also we have the, you can say as your logical operators. So we'll discuss what are these things, what I'm writing on. Okay. So there are some kinds of, you can say, the comparison one is also called as your relational. Okay, so some these kinds of operators you are having there in your course. Then move up to the last type of token. So we have seen 4 types of token. Then coming up to the fifth one is your punctuators. So these are nothing but the symbols you use in your codes. That's all. Right. You can say as the punctuators are the symbols that are used in programming languages. Now, how many type of symbols are there? What are these all symbols? How can we say these symbols? So these are nothing but the uh, okay. Let's give a whole letters to all these. So these are kind of, let me write. So these are. Let me zoom. You will be probably seeing good. This. And what more sign you get in there? Yeah, backslash. So these much types. These are a kind of your punctuators. Okay, these symbols what you use in the programming, the colons, dots, hashtags, braces, backslash, equals to. These are just some of them are used. These are called as your punctuators. So these comprise this for 1.5, 1.4, 1.3, 1.2 and 1.1 comprise to form a token. Okay, these are the smallest individual unit of a program. So these are the things we're having. All right, moving ahead. Let's see anyone is having any problem. Unary side is saying all right, correct. Moving on. Now there are some bare bones of a Python program, right? What are the bare bones then? So a program or a Python program may contain various elements like comments, statements, or expressions. Okay. So what are these statements? What are comments? What are indentations? What are blocks? What are so we will be learning about the bare bone of a Python program. So don't go with the logic. If anyone is not very acquired to Python, who is just a beginner here for the Python, don't go for the logic there. Just will this is two. Just I'll write that it's bare bones, bones, bare bones of a Python program. So what are these things? Okay. So bare bones of a Python program mainly consist of what I said. These mainly consist of the comments, or you can say the statements, the expressions, right? Or you can say these things are comprised over there, or you can say as the blocks, the you can write it as more. The statements are done, comments done, expression done, blocks done. So many times it could be the functions, these kind of things. Okay. So these are the bare bones of a Python program. So how to get all these things? Suppose I'm writing just a program. I'll just don't go for the logic. I'm writing it just this program shows you programs component. So whatever a program can contain, I'm just showing you a component of that program. So suppose we are writing the definition of function CU. Okay. So if I'm writing the definition of a function CU, so I'll write it as def C CU, and I'll write it as print time to say goodbye. Alright, then this is your just a function. So what is the main program? So let it be, I've written it as the main program code follows as, now let me write it as like a equals 15, similarly b equals minus 10, or yes, let it be a minus 10. Let's print our value of a plus 3, just doing a sort of things. Okay, and meanwhile I'll checking that if b is greater than a or b is greater than 5, so I'll be printing it as the value of b, or the value of b is alright. So this could be my value, and meanwhile I can also, so b is not lesser, sorry, b is lesser. So if the value is not greater than 5, so I'll be just printing b is lesser than 5. Okay, that can be equals to 5, still I'm just printing it's just a kind of 5. Okay, so after doing all these things, what I'll do is I'll just write it inside your function. So this is how we define a function, right? Alright, so these all the things are done inside a function. So you can see the just the program here. Now if I call my function, I'll be calling it like this. So what exactly this does, this is a kind of a function, you can see. Okay, now how will get to this you can get by just pressing the shift plus tab over there. Okay, so this CU will particularly called as calling the function, sorry, it's FUN, calling the function, or the function defined above, you can write. Okay, indentations, right? So what are here the bare bones of your program? So for that, if you run the CU, it says time to say goodbye 18, and it's printed the value of a plus 3 and b is lesser than 5, and so on. It just get okay. So now just take a screenshot of that. Let's take this. Just quickly go to the introduction to Python, and okay, just do one thing, and the identifier place, comment as a desktop. Where is the screenshot? Alright, see. So what these are the bare bones of the what are the bare bones actually. So I'll make you understand here. So this is your code you have written now. Okay. Now see very clearly that if I present it now, I just keep it slow and just make over the shapes over here. So I mean to say that in the bare bones, I discussed about the comments, statements, and expressions, right? So what exactly are the expressions? So what are the expressions? You will write these things. You will be writing these things or just doing these things as like right. So even from drawing, I will just make it with my hand. That would be better. So these are the things, these 5 or these a minus 10, these a plus 3, you can say, right? Or this 5 greater than a b greater than 5. These are nothing but the expressions. Alright, these are called as your expressions. Now, what does these uh, blocks means? Because I also discussed about the blocks. So blocks here, what are the blocks actually? We'll be writing the definition later on. So what are the blocks? You can see these couple of codes there for if and for else. So these two define here as your block. Okay. So what are indentations? These you can see the colons. These are also these are termed as your indentation I. Okay. So there are a lot of things which make a bare bone of a program. Calling a block, let be these as a function, right? So these particular things, these and this hashtags are nothing but your comments. All right. So let's go back to our Chrome and yep. Now let's see what are the bare bones example. What are the definition for all these bare bones? So expressions can be a legal combination of symbols that represent a value. Okay. So if you write for the expression, so we'll write expressions can be the legal combination of the symbols that represents a value. Someone came. Okay, so these expressions can be legal combination of the numbers, of the symbols that represent a particular value. Right now we can write it on. These are the expressions moving from here. Yeah. Similarly, you can write for the statements. So what are the statements, guys? So these are nothing but the programming instructions we give. Okay, so we can just write it as your statements are the programming instructions. Alright, the next we can write it for the comments. So they will be writing as someone has sent anything in the WhatsApp. Let me check what is going there. What is that? Particularly. Indentations. What indentation? Vamsi Krishna has given else. Okay, that bring that else back to the same line in which if is lying there. Yes, correctly. Surya Prakash is saying for the indentations. Yes, exactly that would be the indentation. Okay, so expressions has been done. Comments has been. So what are the comments? So comments are the in the simple words I'm writing the description of the code you write. So those are the just the descriptions of the code you write on. Okay. Next we go up with the functions. What are functions? Not getting in the data type. I'm just giving an introduction of the what can a program contain of. So what are the functions? These are the code section, code of the sections which can be reused, or we can say as your it call like for the functions you make on. Okay, so these are the named code sections. All right, we zoom in there. So these are the named code sections which are just which can be reused by specifying their names. All right, so there we come up with all the things. Okay, so your expressions can be the legal combination of the symbols that present a value. Statements could be the programming instructions. Comments could be the description of the code. Function could be the code sections which can be reused by their names. Okay, and blocks which could be the group of statements of the just the statement what you write. Okay, then we come up to see what are the variables and the assignments. So variables could be the labeled storage locations whose values can be manipulated during the program. All right, you can say it as, so variables are nothing but the, so next we move to the our next topic, that is 3. Point number 3 for today, it's this is point number 3 is variables and the assignments. So as I say, variable can be the labeled storage location or the reserved memory location to store some of the values. Now you can understand it again like where it has gone. Yes. Now let's say you have a equals 1, not 1, it's 16. So you have a equals 16, b equals 20, c equals machine. I have each of the boxes for a, for b and for c. Right. See, now these 16 have a particular memory location which is stored in the black box. Okay. Now this location cannot be transferred to this B or C until you write anything. Until you write that this is equals to B equals to C. So every particular location will be managed on the A in place of the B and C. So if I write B20, B20 is having this particular location. The C is having this particular location. This one. Right, so everyone have its own location. Those characteristics or those characters having some particular location or memory are called as your variables. All right, so these are your variables. So similarly, we can write your variables as that the variables are the reserved names storing some values. And these are the having some of the values. Now variables can be named. There are several rules for a variable that when you start your variable, it should be made up of only of the letters. The first rule is that it should be made of the letters there. Okay. Now it should also contain the underscore if you are trying to give the spaces between the variables. Now, if you are writing your name, let's say you are writing it as your first, zoom it, you are writing your first, and then giving a gap over there, and then writing the. That is not the correct way to write. Okay, so what do you do with there? If you want to write that, you just give over a underscore. Okay, so that is the correct method of writing. So a variable must start with a letter. Let it be any capital letter or smaller letter. Okay, that doesn't matter. So let it be any kind of letter we are starting with, but it should be mentioned that you are using the letter first. All right, you can start. You can, if you want, like you are writing as underscore of first. So it says underscore of first is not once again. Uh, just write it as. So you are writing underscore of first is equals to variable. That is correct method. Okay. So underscore, you are starting a variable within underscore. That is correct. Now might you come and you might start with the first. You might write it as a variable one. Let's say you are saying variable one, so it's var one. So it says as it's having a invalid syntax. That is, you can't start with a dot. Meanwhile, if you write like this, again it's an error. So what you can do is, you can just remove this. You can come up with this. Okay. So coming up with the dots and all these. So have you find all these errors before in your like real-time applications? Yeah, you might have find in the Instagram, right? So Instagram is totally based on your Python, right? So whenever you make a username there, they ask you to give the underscores and dots and so on, right? So these are the things that should be mentioned while creating a variable name, and the variable must not be having a name of a keyword. So you know what are the keywords now? How many kind of keywords? How many generally keywords we have? 35. So that not be lying within all these 35 names, right? And there are a sort of certain techniques of how should you write your variable. So I will focus on that later on. So these are the just protocols, what should you mention or what should you maintain while writing a kind of a variable. Now variable can store any value, kind of an integer or float or the complex or the strings or any kind of thing. It can store any value particularly. Okay, so that can be. So Python is a case sensitive as, and it treats the upper and lower case separately or differentially. Okay, we can say that is x and comma. If I write it as, the x comma the x equals to 50, 18 comma, let's say. Okay, it's the comma over there. So if I write the small x and the capital X as 18 comma 39, that does not mean that both the x are equal, because one it is an a lower case, the other one in the upper case. Okay, so that's probably a different, you can say as a different value or different location or memory it is having. Okay, so that is not equal. If you see that whether these are equals or not, and say it is false over there. Okay, so these are the things. Similarly, you have the variables. Similarly, you just have the assignments on all these. Let's say we have a student name. You can have variables, as I said, of different types. So let's say there is a student whose name is Jacob. All right, and let his age to be 16. Fine, this can be done. So here the student represents that it is the student is having a value of Jacob, and the age is having a value of 16, right? Now if you check the type, of all these, so again coming there, this is to be remembered very carefully. So for and write it as checking a type can be done using the, is anyone there to answer, the type function. In the R we see it is done by the this we class of, right? You see in the kind of a class of there function. Let's make it as, and you can see the checking a type can be done using the type function, right? So how to see? So if I write the type, if I just print on that, what are the types? If I see the type of student, and if I see the type of age, so it will say me that sorry, the student is a class of a string and the age is a class of a integer. Understood? So these are the classes of that. So typing also have some methods. We have dynamic typing, we have static typing. So dynamic typing is different apart from this static typing. In static typing, a data type is attached with a variable, and when it is defined first, it is just like a fixed value. Okay, and the data type of a variable cannot be changed in the static typing ones, right? But in the dynamic typing, you can just change the variable's value and so on, right? So we'll now see what is an input and what is an output. So input, the input function, the inbuilt input function, we write it as x1. This would be our 4.4, right? So input and output. This is simple input and output. So you write anything as a variable name and then you take as an input there. Okay. So their syntax is like you just write a variable to hold some values, and then you take an input and then you write a prompt which should be you can say as a display to the user. You can write as a variable first which should hold some values, and then you will write the input word, and then you will be giving an just a prompt to the user what do you want. So you just give the prompt to the user to be entering something. Alright, you do particularly these things, and that is to be, even if you don't write, that does not vary, user can give just a dot over there. So these inputs can be converted in different type, kind of integer or a float. Okay, these are the basic things, right? So you can convert these inputs to the integer or to the float or many types. By default, it is a kind of a string for you. So when you take an input, it says prompt to the user to, you can see the prompt to the user to be entering some value. It is coming here. Say it's a kind of an in out. Alright, let it be in out. So I entered. Now you can check your variable. You can just come and check for the variable to hold some values. You will be seeing that it is having a value of in out. Meanwhile, you can also see the type of value it holds on. So it says in out, and the type it is holding is a string over there. So these are the things which should be mentioned, which should be kept in mind. So function of an integer around gives an input, converts to the read value, and same for the float of that. Okay. So output, if you want, so output is generated by your print one. So if we check for the 5. So output you use by the print statement. Now that can be printed. A value can be printed in many of the ways. If I write now something, You can see now how many ways are there to print anything. Okay, so let's come to see here. Now, first of all, you have a syntax of the print. You just put over the parenthesis over there, and then write your statement for getting printed, right? Then it depends what kind of thing you want to print on, right? So let's say I'm having a variable, of the variable hold some values, or let's say I'm having an age variable. I have that variable. Okay, now I want it to be printed out. See, now printing can, if you're writing print over there, so printing can be done with the same data types, while, and make sure with the same data types while the addition. Okay, now let's take an example that I want to print. First, let's take that x is equals to 20. Now, see, I want to take, or I want to print the value, or just like I want to print the x is equals to, right? Now, how can I print? I can write x is equals to, I can give a comma over there, and I can then write the x. What will this do? This will write x is equals to, and then we'll print the value of x. You just give a comma and write the x. So x is a variable having some value 20. So you'll be getting the printing as x equals 20. What are all the methods for printing this? You can print it as like this. You can also print like this, right? What are different methods? Now, the method I was talking about, that you can't do like the x equals to plus 20. So if you mean to print that this plus this will be printed, so that could not be done. That could be done only if the cases are similar, or if the types are similar. This is a type of a string, this is a type of an integer. So how to do that? So we will have to convert this into the string, and then you can use on to print it there. So this is again equals. Now there are several options to print on. So you can write here as this, and you can also write it as see, you can have a lot of methods to print any particular thing that can be printed in any of the ways. Okay, so it depends on what kind of you want a printing of that. So print statement will print or will give you an output to you. Okay, understood? So the print function without any value will be just printing a expression or a blank line. That's all, right? So these are some of the basics. Now, if we go to the data types, so there are data types like for the we have integers, we have booleans. So we have done here for the data types that we are having data types of these things. We have numeric data type, we have list, we have tuples, we have strings, we have dictionaries, we have sets. All right, fine. So we'll discuss the numeric one now. Let's focus on what this contains on. So you can write it as the first one. Yes. The data types, right? Now, the data types, as I said, are of some categories, many types. So we'll be discussing the first one now. So let it be 5.1. And also the numeric type. See, now in numeric type we have 4 kind of numbers line. So as the name suggests you, it is kind of a number, and you can say as a numeric one. So you have 4 kind of numbers in the data types of the Python, right? So those are the integer, floats, complex, and the random numbers, right? So we'll first discuss the random one. So let's start with the let's start with the integer one. Let's first discuss the integer one. So what are integer basically? So let me write here that these are quite big. So integer are the numbers having positive, negative, or the zero value without the decimal points. That's all. So integer are the numbers which are having the zero, negative numbers, or the positive numbers, or the zero without the decimal points. So what can be an integer? Let's say I'm taking an integer is, let's say a, b, and c are there. So a, b, and c are the integers. Let's say it's 5, 10, and 15. Right? So a, b, c are the 5, 10, and 15. Now if we check the type of all these, so if you write type of a, if you write type of b, so write type of c, you can see all the three are the integer category. So these don't have any decimal values, so these are the integer values. Now they can be also the negative ones, right? So as I said, let's say c and d is equals to 0 and minus 34, right? So again, if you see the type of your c and the type of particularly d, so these are to the integers, right? So if we compare the value, if we compare the type of c with the type of any one of the above, let's say a, so it will come true because the type of both are the same. So these are the integer. Similarly, we have float. Let me copy this. Similarly, the floats stands for these floats have the decimal points with them. So they have the decimal points along with the zeros and all the things, right? So if you write it as a float, let's say f, g, and h, so they can be assigned as your 2.4, not 2, they can be assigned as 2.4, 5.6, or 7.8, like that. They can be assigned with something like this, okay? Let's remove this one. So f, g, and h are having some 3 values. These can be negative also. If you need to write, this can be negative too. So if it again check the type of your, I'm just checking the type of g and all, you can just go on. So these are the kind of the float you can see now, okay? So values which having decimal points, you can say is that float, or without decimal, these are the integers. So what about the complex types? What are these complex now? So in the complex one, my audio is visible, audible, right? It's audible there. So the complex should be complex. So complex are the number having some real or the imaginary parts. So real and the imaginary parts are something like numbers having. You might have read those things in the or class 11th, I think, in the class 11, or yes, in the class 11th. So these are having some real and the imaginary parts, you can say, right? So let's say that I'm having the JIK. So in the JIK, I'm having values at, let's say, 4J. We are having at 6 plus 0J, and let it be 7 minus 0J. right? So the complex is a kind of a situation where you have the numbers in the form of a minus or a plus 0j, or a plus bj basically. That b could be a negative one or a positive one, right? A could be your integer or a kind of a float, depends. So there you get with some of the types, that is your real and the imaginary ones. So you can retrieve the two of the components of these, you can say about the real and the imaginary, by just writing the complex variable name dot the imaginary and dot the uh, real one. Okay, so how to get that? Let's suppose we are checking the j. What is the value of I? So I stands for 6 plus 0j. So what is the imaginary part here? If we want to see the imaginary part, that would be I dot imaginary part. What with the real part? I dot the real part. So let's see, that's 0 and 6.0. So the imaginary part is the 0.0 and the real part is 6.0. Similarly, you can get for all of them. You can write that j dot real and j dot imaginary. Similarly, the k dot real and k dot imaginary. And meanwhile, before printing everything, just print k, so that it would be good for interpolations. And here we come. So we can see these j is nothing but the j has been printed or not, 4j. So j is nothing but the 4j, right? 4j, and these have the value of the j real, that is your 0.0, no real values, but the imaginary value is 4.0. Similarly, for the k we have 7 plus 0j. Now here we can see the real part is 7.0 and the imaginary part is 0.0. Understood? Any confusions in the imaginary and the real parts? I think no confusion should be there. If it is, you can ask. Anyone? Yes? Alright. Moving there. So these are a kind of your just an complex type. So next, moving up with the 5.1 numeric, and there we come. Okay. Then you have a type called as your random number. So these are again so random are the numbers which are just generated in a random manner. Right? These are generated in a very random manner. Now, how to get those things for a random? If you want to get a information of that, okay, someone has unmuted your mic there. Please mute down. Random is also called as Boolean. No, you can't call. Boolean is having something as a register. Can you please mute? So random is something which is having just any kind of numbers, what you give as a range of that. Okay, and in place of a boolean, boolean will be always having a true, either a true value or a false value there. Okay, that will be only having a true or a false value. That could be 1 or 0. Understood? So if we write for that, import random. Before importing, just do one thing. You can just go and see what random does. So for seeing that, you can just write over the random here, and you will get an just random library module reference, that these are the kind of things you can do with the random one. So there you have a lot of things to explore. If you click on there, you can just go to the official uh, page of the Python, and then you can see random, what the random does, how it does. Basically, the random.seed or random.getState, all are these things made of the random. And I'll be doing the random range now. Okay, meanwhile, we'll be covering in the coming days, we'll be seeing all these things, don't worry. Okay, yes, moving on. So we will import the random just to import the random, and then the thing come of a range of that. So what are the range I will discuss, right? So we can write a code over there, and just you can write for random dot. So you have a lot of things to explore in the random. What is choice, what is expo variate, what is gamma variate, and Gauss, and all these things. So we'll be choosing the random dot rand range. All right. So rand range, and then we'll coming with the 1 to 10 over there. So what it does is specifies that there could be a number coming between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Right? So the numbers would be coming between the 1 to 9. Okay, not exactly all the numbers from 1 to 9, but only the numbers that can be in between from these things. Okay, just a random number would be just like a probability you get of just getting of a head or tail. It might come like it will not come like a head or tail both at a time. Something might once come. So you'll be getting a values from 1 to 9. Once any particular value you'll be getting 1. Okay, so when you run this, something is there stored in your code. So my code is having 7. Similarly, when I write random dot the rand range of 12 to 15, so I'll be getting numbers between the 12, 13, and 14. So whatever the last value you'll be writing on, you'll be getting that minus 1 value of it. Okay, if you write 12 to 15, you'll be getting the numbers from 12, 13, and 14. That's all. If you write from 1 to 10, you will be getting 1, 2, 3, 4 till 9. This is how the range function works. Not at random. This is how the range one works. So, yep, there you'll be getting 12, space of 13, space of 14. That's all. So when you run this, you might get 12. Again, you run, you'll be getting 12 again. Again 14, 14 less than 13, and these are the value you'll be just getting on. All right. So with the use of random function, we make a project of a. So is this function applied in OTP generation? Pooja is asking a good one. All right. So did you saw anywhere, Pooja, for this OTP? No. Sneha, Kramesh, sir, why 0 is not included in the random? See, 0 would come in the random if you only write a particular range. I'll discuss that. So Pooja, the question you asked is exactly the correct question, and this is used by the most of the companies like the Google. I just thought of it because the same case goes in the ADP. Yes, exactly. So in the Google or in the Microsoft, any particular company like we do, so we uses this random for the OTP generation for that. Okay, so this is particularly used for the OTP generation. And who is asking Sneha for the 01? So I'll be dealing with how the company uses this for the OTP one. Don't worry. See, there we are giving the starting point. That is, I want the numbers from 1 to 10. So it is starting from the 1. It depends on you what number you write. If you don't write anything, it will start from the 0. So this is not like you don't write anything and just put over a comma there. So don't like, if you don't want to write anything, just remove all these things and just like let's write 1 comma 10. Okay, so you can write it like random dot the rand range of 50. So that's all. So you'll be getting a number. So if you find this, if you find the x, so if you find all these, if I write is something like a range of 50, so I mean to say that my range would be starting from 0 to 50. Understood, Sneha? Okay. Just give me the confirmation whether you understood or not. So if you don't write anything, that would be coming with a 0. So Pooja Ghosh. Okay, yes, now deal with the Pooja Ghosh. See, what we do there is we just come up with a code. We just write a random module there. We just take it like a code, and this is probably would be equals to let it be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, anything 7, and any numbers between 6 to 6. All right. So what you do there, this is your code, and that's all you have done with your. So there is some okay. So this is what, oh no. So this is what we get inside our mobile phones, right? Exactly like this. Pooja, I think your doubt is clear now for this one. Not you're not having doubt, you're having some confirmation from me. So this is used, this can be used as for code generation. For every time you will run, you will be getting a new code over there. So this can be used as a just an a code or OTP generation, like how the bank gives you, and whenever you just make a whenever you come to the bank and make your KYC over there, you get a 4-digit pin for your ATM. That is random generated ATM pin. Okay, so that is a random generated one. So then you can go and then you can just change your ATM pin, right? So you do all these things. So these are the random generated values. Okay, moving ahead. Now we will do some of the calculation. Okay, what is this str of code? Okay, let me understand. So these are the things called as typecasting. Okay, so if you write it as the sixth one, so these are particularly called as your typecasting, right? So what is this typecasting stand for? Where you interchange the data types of from one type to another type. All right. So you change it from integer to float, from float to integer, or from your integer to complex, or float to complex, from your integer to string, complex to string, or anything. Okay. So let's take an integer, and I want this to be converted inside a float value. So this is an integer of 25.4. So integer of 2.45, then the float of 45, 56, and then the complex of 15. So you'll get the answers that integer of 2.45 is 2, float of 456 is 456.0, and complex of 15 is 15. And since you have not given any imaginary part, so it's the 0j over there. Okay, parsing. All right. So what, Sneha, you want to ask particularly? She is asking something about parsing, I think. What do you mean to ask? Let me see what she is asking. The typecasting with parsing. So yeah, you can just go or just ask for that. See, parsing is particularly you use in the strings. In Python we use parse string for a specification based on some format syntax. So in any other kind of thing you can just think of it as a kind of a parsing, but in Python parsing is something different. Okay, we there use parse string for a specification of format method in the strings of that. But for the parsing, if you write, it's okay, you can just come you can connect with that term, but not exactly the same. Okay, understood. So there we have in a string we have a type of called as format for the particular of the strings. Their method comes as a parsing. Okay, there we use parse string, we call it as. Okay, so that is some different term. In the parsing you can say, you can connect it like we change the intertypes, we change the data type, so you can call it as same. Okay, right. Okay, fine. So typecasting has been done. So we did all the things, the basic introduction for the typecasting and the you can say data types. So this was the first data type of a numeric. Then we have booleans and all these things. So we'll go one by one to everything. So now let's start for the operators, arithmetic operators. So before dealing to that, let me give you an information for the system. What is the system thing, or how does system module runs on? Okay, so this system is something where you get the information of your system, and that is very important for a machine learning engineer or AI engineer to know about his system he is working on. So let's go with the second and 7. This is your 7 point sys module. So here you just get to know about the help and so sys. So this is your system's help. So you'll having a lot of things inside the system you can get. So what is exactly this is meant for? So this is an inbuilt module that the automatically generate from the Python source file, and it may incomplete or indirect source or something. You can read on this. So this module provides the access to some objects to maintain by the interpreter and to the functions that interact strongly with the interpreter. Okay, so we can get a lot of things using this system. You can just get your version, the thing interpreter you are using. You can get the version info, you can get the standard input or the out or standard output as you can display, and all there are various of things you can just go on. Okay, you can get the size of the things, right? Get size of an array and the size of the bytes. You can get a lot of things are there to work on, right? You can also get the time of that. Someone came there. Okay, yes, I'll go up to that, don't worry. Typecasting means the type of conversions. Yeah, conversions exactly. You just convert the type there. Sir, can you please talk about the explicit and the implicit typecasting? Alright, we'll go to that. So let's complete this list and then we'll go to that one. Okay. So in system, you can just go for checking on your system version, or you can also just check for your system version info. So there, similarly, you have to import your system, like for the random, you have to import random. Okay, so let's go with that. So for checking your system version, you will be getting a question in the assignment I'll be giving you. So how to print the system version for that. Okay. So a system version can be just printed. Just write this, and you can just go on for saying that it's my system. What is this? Alright. Okay, my let me zoom it there. So this states that you are writing system dot. Now you have a lot of things to focus on. If you want a system dot API version or base prefix or any of the things you want to write that. Okay, so we want system version. So we'll be getting for the system. You can also check for the path. Okay, if you want to this see the path, so it will say okay, there's some problem of the. So this is my path of my. So this is my system path basically, not the version. This is my system path. So we're having all these things in my system out there. Okay, this particular file where it is this particular file. Meanwhile, you can just get out your system version like sys dot the version. So you can get your system version. I'm having 3.7.6. Alright. So these are the things to be remembered of. Yes. And meanwhile, as I said, you can also get to the system version and also to the information. So this will give you the system version information. Yes, coming up to the doubts of your puja there, that is your explicit and implicit functions. So see, explicit and in the type conversions, when we see there are the two type conversions, basically these what she is asking for. So you have implicit type conversion and you have explicit type conversion. So implicit type conversion is something which automatically converts one data type to the another data type. Alright, so that does not require any this type of user's environment, you can say on. Okay, so that can be similarly as, let me write for that. So there we go with the, no, these are the terms of the typecasting. So let's focus on here. Let me leave it as a new cell. Some of the new cells there. Okay. So we'll be focusing on the types. That is your two. Let me write here. Typecasting are of two types. So one, it has your implicit, and the second is of your explicit. So let's see what implicit does. So it is 5.6.1. So implicit 1.6.1, that is implicit typecasting. So in the implicit typecasting, what I said is it automatically, write it as a code. Or let's write implicit. So implicit ones, as I said, this automatically converts one data type to the another one. Okay, so this auto converts one data type to the another. Alright. Whereas an explicit will have some different things. So we'll first see the implicit. So let's take a program for that. We'll see, let's say I'm having a number as x equals to 1, or let it be 12. Another I'm having a, let's take it x and y, 23.7. So I'm having a float and a number there, or you can say it's an integer and a float there. Now, so for converting anything, I want to convert these both in the float, these things in the float now. So for converting an integer in a float, what you will do is basically just write on the float and then pass on the x, and you will be getting the float there, right? That is a float class. So let's say that I'm printing that the float of x is equals to, what is the float of x there? What I'll write it as, nothing but the float of x. The float of x is 12.0, right? And you can meanwhile check the type of that. So for checking it, let me also write it as, after this is done, I'll check it for the type of the x. Similarly, I'll be writing here the integer of x sorry, it would be y. Let's say it is integer of y now, and you are checking for the, this format has been done, and yeah, you are checking for the type of y. So when you run this, there's some UL errors, format of this and float. This could be possibly here. Again, is some problems. Let's see. Wait one moment, and yes, so this is format once. So format has been done, and format has of integer and format is float, and there you get the types. I think that's okay. Yes. So you can see these are the class of your generic type. You are seeing the basic type you are seeing now, that if you run this code you will get a class of float and float, right? These are the basic thing you get. So these are the thing which automatically converts the code or automatically comes as a kind of a float. Okay, so what we did is we just converted the integer to the float and float to the integer. Okay, so a new data type has came on of that x and y after that. Now if the addition, if I do that, so let's say if I do, it's like a kind of x plus y, so that might will give you a value, and the type of x plus y would be float. So did you understand what happened? The data type automatically changed over here. Did you saw it? It was an integer, it was a float over there, and when we just added on, what happens? The data type of x and y automatically changed. So we didn't change anything, that was automatically changed. So this, you can term it as a kind of an you can say is that implicit data type. So implicit is clear to everyone? Having any problems in the implicit to anyone? You can meanwhile check it as like kind, if I'm doing it with the let's say, so you can't do the additions of two different type of data types. You can do addition, you can't do additions with the string one. Let's say you are adding x plus y, that's okay. That's when you are adding with a, let's say, string str, when you want to add this with a string. So this might will give you an error, that is unsupported operand types of a float and string. So what it says now, it does not say that it unsupported operand of a type for an integer and a string. Why it not says integer? Because this x plus y will give you a category of float. So it's not supported for the float and integer. So can we do for the complex numbers? And please, yeah, can we do for the complex? So you want to do for the complex, you have to see for that. So see what happens. Let's say you are adding it with the 8j. So it can be added there, right? So these are the things where the automatic, the type has been converted. We don't convert, we don't write on and convert it there. So these are the things where you just convert anything. So that comes under the category of your implicit functions, right? Or implicit data type. And the explicit is where you just force the data type to become in someone, like we did in the previous one. Like we did in the previous one. These are the explicit, where you just force it to be becoming in the float, or you force this to come in the y. So these are the implicit, explicit ones, and these are the implicit ones. So let me write the heading as implicit as well as the explicit. These are the just kind of an explicit first of all. Anyone having any problems in explicit and understanding the implicit one? So Pooja, are you clear with that? In the explicit, what we do, we just force the variables to have its type conversion, and in implicit, it automatically converts up. Like we added an integer and a float, it becomes a float. We add an integer and a string, it becomes a string over there. So this is how it works. All right. Yes, moving on. So explicit does this, and the implicit, you can see the type, it's kind of float. All right, moving on. Let's cut all these things. Moving ahead to the next type. So we will see now the arithmetic operators. So we have operators. Now we'll start with the operators now. So let's take it as a 7, 2, and the 7, I think. No, 8. It's 8. So it's 8 point the operators. So in the operators, so we discussed what are operators, so not discussing about the operators more. So we'll be discussing now about the arithmetic operators. So let's say it here as the quote, and they write the arithmetic operator. So as the name suggests you that these stands for the basic mathematical calculations in the arithmetics. Okay, you do just a bit of calculation with the basic mathematics of doing addition, subtraction, multiplication, division on the powers of all those things. Okay, these are the basic things. So arithmetic is having a spelling issue. Yes, correct. So we'll go with the arithmetic now. So there are some kind of operators in the arithmetic, kind of like plus, the minus, the division, the modulus division, flow division, the modulus, the exponentiation, and the multiplication. These are the things in the arithmetic operators. Alright, so we'll focus one by one. So now let's take that you have x and y as your 5 and 10 again. Now I want to take a and b well as my 2 and 4. Now let's take, if I do x plus a, I'll get a value of 7. That's correct. If I do x minus a, or let's take y minus b, so I'll be getting a value of 6. So what does this x plus a plus x plus y minus b stands for? So it's 13. So these are the type of mathematical calculations of simple algebra, you can say, for. And now what are the things of a multiplied by b to the power of, or let's do the b to the power of 3. So a into b to the power of 3, that is your a, it's your 5 to the multiplied to the 2, that is 10. I think it's 5 and 4. So 5 into 4, no, it's 2 and 4. So 4 into 2 is 6 to the power of 3 coming in there. So this is how it maintain on. So you can also write it as, let's say, x multiplied by y plus your b minus your a, and that could be a probability of this. Okay, so these are the basic mathematics over there. Now when you come to division, we'll write x, let's say we are dividing 25 divided by 5. So what is the value? It's 5.0, right? Now to get an integer division or an integer value instead of 5.0, if you want 5 only, so to get an integer division or an integer value, what we'll do is we'll divide the 25 by 2 backslash. That will be giving you integer division to all, right? So similarly, we have, if you want to see the remainder when 33 or when 100 is divided by 3. When 100 is divided by 3, what is the remainder? So we get the remainder as 1. Alright, so if we want to see the quotient for that, what is the value? We're getting 33.33 something on the there, 1094. Okay, so this is the value. Now we have seen the modulus used for the remainder. The just a single slash is used for your just for calculation on the division. The double slash used for the integer division or the floor division. The normal things of your addition, subtraction, multiplication, all those things working on. Okay, and then the exponentiation too. If you write the 2 to the power of 3, you will be getting 2 to the power of 3, you will be getting 8 there. These are 2 to the power of 3, it's 6. Okay, it's into 3. So you get an 8 over there. That is how it works. Okay, these are the basic arithmetic operators. Now let's do some of the task. What's the time? 5:24. Okay. So let's complete to the working of the task now. Let's start our task. Okay. Let's take it like. Okay. There is 27 now. We have 45 till 45. Okay, 15 minutes are there. Okay, let's start the task for that. So I'll give something 3 questions, not much. Okay. So basic 3 questions will be given to you now. Let's take it as. Let's just take it as your A. So let me write it here. Let me just cut it. So these are your first day notes. Alright, so AMTD2 notes are there. And similarly, you can just task over here also. So we'll give just a line there for markdown, and we'll write it as your task of D2, day 2 task. Now the first question I am giving is as that you have A equals, meanwhile you can solve it there, okay. You have A equals 100, B equals 12.56, C equals 3, D equals A multiplied with C, the power of C. Now I'm giving as Q equals, let it be A to the percentile of C, and let's take P A C. So I'm giving you a very simple question. Okay, now what you have to do is your task is to, these are the things you are having now, okay, and your task is calculate the value of A plus B whole square and to get it stored in variable E. So make a variable E and get it stored the value of A plus B whole square. Let me write it as your code. So this is your first thing, first question, not ends. Meanwhile, also check the type of E you will get. So just work on this. I think you might have done. No. So calculate this one. Coming to the next one, next question. Let me zoom there so you might get it's very clear. Okay, this is your question there. So the next question is, just keep on solving. Let me write the next question. You keep on solving there. You have A equals 100, B equals 80, C equals 90. Output should be so print just 100% using the string technique, just a normal 100% like this. I think the answers must be here. So it's Surya Prakash is saying 100, Anisha is saying STR of 100 plus STR of 80 plus STR of 90. Alright. 12696.7536 coming there. So is this the value of a plus b whole square? Alright, I see. So the value is coming for the same over there. So yeah, okay, let's see. So here we'll be calculating the values. Now I want the values of a square plus b square plus 2ab, and I want the type of the e. Alright, so meanwhile I'll make it sure that it's pasted over there, and this is your e. So print e and the type of e. So it is 12669.7536 and the class is float. Alright, so this is exactly what I want to get. So this would be the str of a plus the str of b plus the str of c. So probably okay. This is 90 and 15 and so on. So you can do one thing. You haven't given your ABC there. Those are 100, 80 and the 90. So that would be 1008090, or maybe str of a like that. Yes, I'm sure it's correct. Alright. Print 100%, anyone? So 100%, how you can print 100%? There are a lot of methods to print that. Meanwhile, you can just write 100%. You can write it as 100 plus the percent, like that. So there are a lot of techniques to print your 100+%. That's right. Okay. You can print it a lot of methods. Okay. So you will be getting some of the assignments, like I have made it for you for the Python basics. The Python basic students are also doing, the Python training students. So you will be also doing those things, where these are the assignments. So there, I think. So this is your first program. I'll be giving to you your first program to you there. That is the first program to print on all these things. Then you'll coming to the typecasting things. You'll be just doing a typecasting there. Okay, and then just a little bit of string of operations. So I think a string operation, let it be there. A string operation will continue tomorrow. What's the time? It's 5:33. Okay, we have time. Let's do some of the questions then. Okay, so anyone, let's ask, was anyone is having any questions over there? Anyone is having any questions? So you can ask here. Let's see. Yes. Any questions regarding anything today not understood or something like that? Pushpa has left. Okay, E is equals to 12 point. Yeah, Saiteja, it's correct. Alright. So now let me ask someone. Just a definition. Let me take a random value from you guys. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, Ashish will say. So Ashish, how do STR should how to do STR?
Hello, sir.
Yes, just 1 second, Sneha. Yes, Ashish, now let me know that what are variables?
Sir?
What are variables?
Variables are the format which the data, they are like data types, sir.
Variables are
Which
data
store,
types
which store data, sir.
with store data.
Like identifier.
Yeah, you can say, yeah. So with store data, exactly. But don't say ever that it is a kind of a data type. So those stores data. Alright.
Yes.
Okay. Next we come to the different one. Let's ask to Supriya. Yes, Supriya, can you hear? And it's okay, she left over. Fine. So coming to the Sneha has asked something, how to do str of a plus b plus c. Should we add? See there, strings are never added up. They are just joined. Okay. So this process is also called as string concatenation. So strings are never added up, all right? So you never add any particular string, you just concatenate it. Yeah, that is called as concatenation. You just join those things. A string never adds. Okay, you can add up a integer value, you can just add up a float value, okay, but you can't add just a string over there, because a string has something. How can you add a plus b if you have a just a string and b just a string? Is that a and b will be added up? No, that is not possible to add anything. Okay, let me discuss you some of the important things. I just we have some of the time, so I don't have in C, but I don't have in C, but not numbers. I didn't get you, Sneha, what you're asking. I have done in C. Okay, you have done in C, but not numbers. All right. So in C numbers, there you are. Okay, fine. So now let me just share you some of the experiences of the interviews from the Google, right? So I was facing the interview some back of around the 5 to 6 months ago. All right. So there, what happened that some board members were sitting in front of me, and I was just randomly asked a question. Okay, the very second or the third question I asked was that in which month I was born. Okay, so that was a quite good thing. I replied that I was born in December. So he said in the which year? So I said my year. So he said, okay, then you have just 10 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. So first he gave me the 15 seconds. So in front of me there was a screen over there, and kind of an interpreter screen. He asked in which language you should want to give your interview. I said it's Python. I will be working there. So this an interpreter screen came in front of me, and I have to just write on all those things. Okay, so that was a quite good thing. So he said, okay, you have 15 seconds. Just get me print your birth month of your birth year. All right. So Madhu is asking something, sir. Why we are doing a square plus b square? Is there any other method? See, Anusha is giving your answer. The a plus b whole square. That is another method. All right. Yes, Ashish. Do you want to ask anything?
No, sir.
All right. So yes, so there had been a situation of like that was easy. I practiced all these things. What he asked, I was having a practice of that thing. So he just asked me to print the calendar basically. So in Python, you have your code. In your course, we'll be dealing with the times and the calendars. They'll be practicing on how calendar works. So please have these things in mind that whenever you go in the big companies interview, they ask the very common things, not the common things, they ask the very apart things from the courses of whatever you have done. Okay, a plus b whole square will get the same answer, yes, correctly. So what I did is I was born in the December, right? So I born in the December. I was asked to, in the next question what I get is he asked me that in which country, in which year your country got independent. So I said it's 1947. So he said, okay, then you just, can we get answer without formula? How you will get it without the formula? The a plus b whole square. So yes, this is without formula. If you go with this method, this is the without formula method. I asked a plus b whole square. So a plus b whole square is a square plus b square plus 2ab. So I just did a square, and then I did b square, and then I just added 2 multiplied by a multiplied by b. So this is your formula. You can go with that. Okay. So there I was given some 10 seconds to answer that, in which he just asked me what was the day when your just country got independent. So that probably be a good situation to remember what was the day when your country got independent. Anyone knows what was the day? Might be Vamsi we might be knowing, because I think I did this calendar one in the ISC Bangalore course, I think. Anyone knows what was the day of 15th August 1947? No one. That's good. I remember that was Friday. I remember that was, I think that was Friday. Might be Friday. It can be Thursday. It might be just one day above and down. Let me see what was it. It can be Friday, I think. So that is your 10-second work. that you import your calendar, and then you have to just print out a calendar of a month. Now the month was the 10th and the year was 1947. Index out of range. Sorry. So, sorry, June, July, August. August, it's a 9. If you March, April, May, June, July, August. It's 8. What I'm doing. So it's August 1947. Okay, I was correct. It was Friday because that was a Friday 15 August 1947. Yes, correct. So let me stop your videos.